I hear y'all, man. I don't know what happened to this side. Nobody voted.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm ready as soon as she say ready. She put it in the chat. Okay.
And lock the door.
Yeah, come on in. Just like that.
I'm gonna put the sign up and say.
And I'm going to ask those who are know that you're going to be reporting out to accept the Zoom that's asking you to be a panelist, so it'll bring you on the other side of the screen.
Okay.
So one of our coalition members here talked to the mayor board.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Melanie Campbell, President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. I'm here with our chairman of the board, Mr.
Thomas W. Dortz Jr.
Thank you very much. And we are here on Election Day, one of the most historic days of our lives in recent times, here at the Clark Atlanta University at our NCBCP Ronald Walters National Election Day Command Center. And we do this every year, every other year, midterms and presidential years. This year's what's unique is that we're in two locations, and we are also at Howard University with Dr. Elsie Scott, who's the founding director of the Ronald Walters Leadership and Public Policy Institute Center, at Howard University is there. And in these two locations, we have our communications and messaging hub here at Clark Atlanta University. And we have been graced by the president of Clark Atlanta University, Dr. George French Jr., who will bring remarks. And then we'll hear from Dr. Elsie Scott, and then we will move to hear from our national partners who are here in person and virtually. And then we will hear from our students report out about what their experience has been in these two command centers. And then we will hear from our state, our leaders in states is what I call them, who are on the ground getting the work done. And we know it's a tight schedule. So we ask everybody to please be brief, because we know we got to get back out in these streets, even us in Atlanta who are here. So we want to make sure that we hear from everybody and in that order. So I would turn it over to Dr. George French to give us his remarks. And thank you again, Dr. French, for hosting us and providing us the opportunity to establish this institute at Clark Atlanta, and now making it an active entity by hosting our command center here. Dr. French. Dr. French, you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It's always an honor to be in your presence. I just left the command center a few minutes ago. I'm happy to go vote. My wife is not feeling well, but I'm trying to see if she's going to be able to get out. Knowing her, unless she has to be in a wheelchair, she's going to be out there to vote. So I want to thank you for being in the Thomas W. Dortch Institute. We know that we have the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. The Southern Region office is there on campus of Clark Atlanta University at the Thomas W. Dortch Institute. And we're grateful that you all are here. We're excited about the election. Thank you for all you've done to get out the vote. Thank you for the participation of Clark Atlanta University students, and we are ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. French. And before I bring on Dr. Elsie Scott, I meant to have our chairman, of course, bring brief remarks. Tommy.
Well, I want to start by thanking first the students. You know, we're right here in the Atlanta University Center. This is where SNCC was founded. Right down the road from here is where the late John Lewis had the voter education project. Freedom Riders came out of this center. We have Morehouse, Spelman, CAU, Morris Brown, ITC, all a part of this great institution, the largest center of Black higher education in the world. And so we want to say to the students, thank you for all you've done. For all of our state coordinators, thank you for all that you continue to do, and state directors, and to the volunteers, so many of this reminds me of what we went through back in the 60s and the 70s when we were really engaged and active. And I tell you, we have to be prepared. We have to, of course, understand that democracy is on the ballot today. But as John Lewis used to say, if you don't vote, you don't count. And there was another poster that they used to say, the hands that once picked cotton now can pick presidents and US senators and governors and down the line. So we want to thank everybody in all of the states for what you've done, what you're continuing to do. This is our march to 2024. But we have to take care of business today in the midterm elections. We're trying to make sure people turn out and vote. Again, remember, if you don't vote, you don't count.
Thank you, Tommy. We hear from, thank you, Tommy. I'll hear from Dr. Elsie Scott, and then we'll go to our national partners. We'll go in the room. We have a couple of folks here in the room, and we'll come to you next, and then we'll go to our national partners that are on the line. We'll hear from the students, and then we'll hear from our leaders in the states.
Thank you. Thank you, Melody. We are happy to join and happy to be joined by Clark Atlanta University this year. We've been doing the Command Center at Howard University for the past 10 years, and we were happy to host it again today. We just hate that all of you all deserted us and went to Atlanta, and but we had more students, I think, to turn out this year than we've ever had before. Some of the students you can see back here in the room with me, but we've had a great day collecting data, and when we get some results in from the election, we hope to have, hopefully it will be some great reports about what has happened throughout the country today.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Dr. Elsie. We have my sister, Latasha Brown, who's in the room from Black Voters Matter. You've been on the ground all over this country. So tell us what you're hearing. And thank you for being a partner and sister friend, first and foremost. Partnership and following her. We'll go to David.
Melanie, your feedback is really bad, Melanie.
Okay,
Feedback.
can you hear, is that better? Following Latasha, we will hear from Damon Hewitt with the Lawyers Committee. We know he's running election, National Election Command Center, and then we'll go from there. So Latasha and then Damon.
All right, y'all, we are in these streets. We won't black down. We have been, we're working in 20 states today. Very deeply in about 13, and what we're hearing across the board is that there's been a steady flow. So we're going to say steady wins the race. In early voting in Georgia, we have broken all kinds of records. And what we've been seeing when we've been going around from polls to polls, what has been really exciting to see is we've been seeing younger voters that have been coming out at the polls. That's been extremely exciting. And when we're talking to the younger voters, they are like, we already know what to do. We got it. We already know what to do. And so that's been really wonderful to see. There have been some reports around some tension around some of the polling sites that we work with in Mississippi and in Florida. We have not gotten those, we have not gotten information about that necessarily happening in Georgia right now. I do want to note that when people say like there's a high voter turnout, you know, a lot of that has been early voting. You know, one of the pieces around in the last election, there were 1.2 million mail-in ballots. And when people ask, well, did the voter suppression piece work? Well, we don't know. We know that in many ways, what it has done is that there's only been 0.2. That means there's only been 200,000 people who have turned in their mail-in ballots, which means there are 1 million people who used the process before. They've not used it now. And so we're hoping that that accounts for some of the folks who have been early voting, but we also know that those barriers have made a difference. I just believe that Black voters have been very determined and committed and resolved to come out and vote. So that's what we've been hearing everywhere we've been going. Even when we've been going down the street, we were doing a U-turn in one parking lot, and we were in the parking lot, and at least 40 people came to the bus and wanted t-shirts and wanted to talk about the election. So there's something that is happening, but it's very calm and steady. And I think that's a good thing. It's a good sign of what we're feeling and what we're seeing.
Thank you so very much, Damon. And then we have Joteka Edie with Women, Black Women, and following her will be Michelle Dubois with Values Partnerships. And then we'll again hear from this, and then Cleola Brown is here from APR.
Thanks so much, Melanie. Appreciate the partnership with the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Folks may not
Damon,
notice,
can't
but
hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You got me? All right. Yeah, so thank you so much, Melanie, for the partnership with the National Coalition. You have been a guide, a luminary, a friend, a client even, you know, you and the organization. So thank you for all that you've been doing. It's not just today, it's not just election season, it's all throughout the year that you do this work, and you do it with so many people on the line here. So just a quick report from what we're seeing through the election protection, voter protection hotline, 866 Our Vote, OURVOTE. We've had thousands of callers today. We have thousands of attorney volunteers as well answering the calls. Some of the top states are Georgia, Texas, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, Michigan. it's no coincidence. These are places where there are either new laws in place to suppress the vote or some of the wilder tactics going on. Arizona's been one of the ones that we've heard about as well, where there was recent litigation about people having guns, intimidating folks at polling places. We have seen sporadic claims and allegations that are really substantiated for the most part of voter intimidation. What's really interesting is that it doesn't seem to be deeply coordinated, as if it's the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers out here that we can tell so far doing this, but there are these highly motivated people who subscribe to false and quite often racist white supremacist ideology. That certainly seems to be out there, but it's not clear that it's deeply coordinated in an effort that's going to be anyhow successful in quelling the right to vote. We've had to do some litigation. The ACLU, the Brennan Center, perhaps also the Campaign Legal Center have all been involved in litigation, and so have we. We actually had to go to court last night to get a federal judge to help remove a poll judge in Texas, as they call them, from a polling site in order that white poll workers not harass Black voters. It should not take a federal court to do that, right? It shouldn't take that. But the reason we learned about it is because somebody called that tip into the election protection hotline. That's how we often hear what's happening. But what we are seeing are people energized, people motivated. 44 million people voted before today, which is amazing, setting a new record for midterm elections. By contrast, it was over 100 million for the 2020 presidential, but for a midterm, that is actually a very good number, folks. Just to be clear, we're seeing a lot of people turning out today. They're not being deterred. People are savvier than ever about their options. They know to call the hotline. They know to go to trusted sources. They know not to allow themselves to be intimidated or turned away. They know about provisional ballots. So now it's time for folks to act like they know in this final home stretch before the polls close today.
Thank you, Damon. We hear from Joteka, Michelle, Cleola, and then we also going to hear from Alicia Garza with Angela Rye. And Angela Rye, who are two of our special guests. All right.
Hello, everybody. It's just so good to be here with each and every one of you. And thank you, Sister Mel, Sister Q, and Brother Dorch. It's so good to see you. Just as we've been hearing from across the country, I think a couple of takeaways that we have. Number one, pay attention to the people and not the polls. I think that's the most important thing that we could take away. These polls have been misleading. And if we listen to the polls, I think we'll be led astray. So it's more important for us to make sure we're paying attention to the people. And what we know is that there have been record numbers of people voting early, despite voter suppression tactics. The other thing that I would note is that it is clear and evident that Black women-led organizations and Black women candidates will be and continue to be a factor in this election. Black women continue to show our strength. Black people and the Black vote continue to show our strength. It's important for us to lift that up. And the third thing that I would say is important for us to implore to all media outlets that they should not call a balance of power or call any election until the polls are closed and until the last person have voted. It's so important that we convey that we continue to push that out to all media outlets. Many of them are ready to try to call these elections, and we know that it can sway, and in some ways it can depress the electorate. And it's important for our media organizations to have integrity, voter integrity in terms of how they're calling these elections. And so those are just some of the key takeaways. The last thing that I would say is that, I think many of the women within the Win with Black Women Network continue to be encouraged. We're encouraged by the powerful number of Black women that are on the ballot this year, up and down the election across the country in more than 44 states across this country. And we continue to be encouraged by Black women-led organizations that are doing the work in community after community and making sure that we exercise our power. Because as our sister Latasha always reminds us, and I was so heartbroken I didn't get a little piece of song today, but maybe we might get it at the end. Whenever she just give us a little bit of song, but to remind us that this is indeed about our power. And we should always remember that our power is our vote. And let us make sure that until the last voter is counted and they cast their vote, that we're not giving up anything, because our power is our vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Joteka. Michelle, and then Cleola Brown.
Well, it's so good to be with you all on the line today. Michelle Dubois here. I'm so work with
Michelle, you're going out.
ensure that this. Sorry about that. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
We are so delighted to be partnering with you all to make sure that this most critical election of our lifetime is respected. The process is respected, and our people are able to cast their ballots and to ensure that those ballots are counted. What we're hearing on the ground here is that overall, as we always know, there are states that have hiccups with some of the voting machines and some irregularities, but it sounds like from the few that we've heard about that those were being worked through. Here in Maryland, voting has been very, very, very smooth from the candidates and their staffs that we've talked to. Overall, what they're looking for, though, to double down on Joteka's point, is to make sure that none of these elections are called until every ballot is cast and every ballot is counted. We are hoping for a surge of Democratic voters to hit the polls post work. And so we're encouraging everyone to continue.
Michelle, we lost you. I think it's just
Not to polls or not closed.
your Wi-Fi.
Sorry about that. I'm
thank
out.
you. Yeah.
So we are encouraging. Is that
A
better?
little bit better. We got to and
Right.
get to it. Okay.
Yeah, so we encourage everyone to continue to hit your list, to encourage voters to go to the polls and stay in those lines. No matter what happens, stay in those lines and ensure that your ballot is cast. And so again, as Joteka said, do not let these races be called before every ballot is cast and counted. We are here to help support in any of that messaging and look forward to hopefully what will be a good night for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Cleola Brown.
Well, hello, my sister Melanie. I want to start by saying thank you so much for always pulling us together in unity and doing those kinds of things that make folks sit up and pay attention. You continue to do that throughout the entire year, not just at the culmination of an event. And what you do helps us to be able to do a little bit more in the areas of work that we can. Taking a look at the screen this afternoon, I see so many of the partners and friends from a long time. But what's more exciting is that all the calls that we're getting in from around APRI and other organizations that we partner with is a number of young people that are in the streets who are helping with ensuring that the vote is going to be a good, solid one from the communities of color. And we're excited about it. On the call this afternoon, we've got about 10 folks who are APRI activists who can tell you firsthand what's going on in the various states around the country. So with that, I'll say to all of the leaders that are on this call, y'all done good. You made sure that folks paid attention. You made sure that folks knew what the message was going to be when some folks couldn't seem to get a good message going to help them for nothing. But that's the way to turn it around. At least that's what our youth are telling us, and they're showing us rather than us just talking at them, and that's positive. So I'm anxious to hear the reports from the various regions, as we did a bit earlier. All over YouTube, it is flying. And Tommy, let me say this, it's good to see you, my brother, and we're so proud of all of the work that you're doing to ensure that institutions like Clark Atlanta are receiving the kinds of resources and the support from the community to say that we don't just put a hand out, we put something in the hand every now and then. Well, folks that got it fat like that, like you. So I'm real excited about what's going to happen.
Thank you, Sister Cleola, my mentor, my sister, my friend. Getting the foxhole with you any day of the week. And speaking of foxhole and fighting the fight, not just on a domestic level, but also internationally. Alicia Garza, who wears many hats, but today, and it's all about movement and movement for our people. Black Futures Lab is where she will speak from and give us your perspective about what you feel about what's going on with this election and what you're hearing. And I think last national partner is Victoria Kirby Burke from the National Black Justice Coalition.
Cleola Brown, push mute. Mute. Okay. Well, greetings and thank you so much, Sister Melanie, for always convening us and giving us the light to move to. I'm Alicia Garza here representing Black Futures Lab. And the thing that I'm seeing here on the ground in Georgia is that folks are fired up and folks are ready to be powerful in this process. We understand that no matter what the results are, that there is a movement being built here, and folks who I've been talking to today in the last few weeks are excited to be a part of that. And thank you to the work of people like my sister Latasha and so many others who remind us that we are wielding power in a way that can change this country forever. I wanted to make sure to also let us know that there are lots of efforts that are happening for the outcomes of today, but also for what we do tomorrow, which is also deeply important. We have the Black Census Project running, which will be the largest survey of Black people in American history when we are completed. We are grateful to partners like the Black Women's Roundtable, Win with Black Women, and so many others who have joined us in this effort. It's important to us to get the Black Census completed. We are working to get 200,000 responses from Black people all over the country from various demographics that are always getting left out and left behind. And we are using this data to create a Black agenda for 2024 that we will organize around starting tomorrow and moving into the next presidential election. So if you are interested in becoming a partner with us to get this done, you can visit blackcensus.org. You can also hit me up at holla@blackfutureslab.org. And I'm going to turn it back over to my sister, Melanie.
Thank you, my sister. Victoria Kirby-Burke, and then the last national partner is Angela Rye. I think that's Impact Strategies. Did I get it right? Yes, I got it right. And then we'll move again to hear from our students and our state leaders. Victoria, you there still?
Awesome. Yep, I'm here.
It's
Hey,
Victoria.
everyone.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, everyone.
Victoria.
Victoria Kirby York.
We can't hear you.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now? No?
I hear you
Yes?
now.
Okay.
Hear you now.
Awesome. Thank you, Jotaka. Taka. Victoria Kirby York with the National Black Justice Coalition. Excited to be here with our interns at the DC Command Center that Dr. Elsie Scott's holding down with the Ron Wilder Center. Yes. In conversation with some of the Black LGBTQ plus folks around the country through various sources. The main thing that we've heard is similar to what's been shared, that there's momentum and energy, especially amongst young folks throughout the country. We have been sharing some of the feedback that you all shared in our earlier call with colleagues working at the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights that have their own squad looking at voter protection issues. And also with the White House Domestic Policy Council. They're incredibly grateful for this space and the fact that we are all meeting together to get this information. And definitely want to shout out the leadership of Sister Leader Melanie Campbell, whose brilliance helped to coordinate and bring all of our organizations together to share on these platforms. I just wanted to make sure that you all know that the information that you share is so critical and timely to make sure that our communities' votes are counted and voices are heard. As it relates to the LGBTQ community specifically, the thing that we are trying to make sure that people remember, there's a lot of, most Black LGBTQ plus folks live in Black communities. We don't live in neighborhoods. We live near our mamas, sisters, cousins, best friends. Many of us still live in the same communities we went to high school at. And so information about voter identification for transgender and non-binary voters is incredibly important in the Black press, especially, and at Black community events, because that's where our people are. Folks need to know that regardless of the rules of identification, that they can cast provisional ballots. And that if they know they have proper identification, if they experience discrimination or intimidation at the polling place, that their rights are protected and that they know about all of the resources. All of our groups are connected to 1-866 Our Vote, that they know about options with local FBI field offices and with the Department of Justice Office of Civil Rights, and to not be dismayed by experiences of past discrimination and stigma at polling places, that 364 days of the year, they might not be treated the most, affirmed or welcome. But it's important that they know on election day, their right to vote is protected. They need to show up and show out. Those are the messages that we've been trying to share with our partners and that they've been sharing with members of our communities, specifically Black led organizations focused on our community. And that I hope that your organizations will also share, because many of our members are part of your groups. We're more likely to engage with Black civic participation groups than we are LGBTQ groups because racism, right? So want to make sure that you all have that information and are also sharing it, because those votes count and matter too when it comes to making sure that the people that represent all of our interests, all of Black America's interests, are elected and able to accurately represent all of us following these elections. So.
We certainly don't want to get in the way of the students, a little bit of feedback, but that'll go away. You all are hearing the doors chiming because our time is now. And so we just want to encourage you. We just want to encourage you to use every bit of strength you have to get out there and vote. Thank you so much to every one of you all who are foot soldiers in the movement, encouraging people with your words, with your prayers. Our time is now. We have to activate. We are fighting on every side, right? The battles are plentiful and the soldiers are few. So we're not going to keep the soldiers on this call too much longer, but I do want you all to hear from my dear sister. We are, like I said, always in a fight. And here's another one, because we know that MSNBC snatched the platform from my sister, but they didn't know that they can't steal her foundation and her voice. And so she's here now to encourage all of you. I'm sitting next to the wonderful, the amazing, the brilliant Tiffany Cross.
Thank you, Angela. That's right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much to Sister Melanie, and definitely to Angela Rye. We affectionately call her the Chief of Staff of the Blacks because she rides so hard for the community. But I want to thank everyone for all the work that you all are doing on the ground. I'm so touched because I'm looking at the screen and I see so many people who were guests on the show. And that's why it's so important for us to have vehicles where we can center our lived experience and our unapologetic, unfiltered voices. And so we may not have that right now on a platform, but we certainly have that in the streets, and that's where it counts. And I've always said I would much rather have the love of my people than the love of some executives in a corner office. And you got to love the people to lead the people. And I'm thrilled to be around people who love the people as we go out and hit these streets to lead the people. At every time there's progress, there's a backlash. And we're seeing that now. When we heard everybody talking about this racial reckoning, we all recognized that was a moment in time and that there was going to be work to really have a racial reckoning. But what they don't know is that while this racial reckoning may be met with backlash, we are a people to be reckoned with. And so I salute all of you for the work you're doing. I'm here in solidarity with you. I'm on the ground with you, and just very touched to be included in today's call. And my heart is filled with gratitude for all the important work you're doing. And I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Tiffany, we were with you before you was on the screen, when you're on the screen, after your screen, and when you get back on the screen. Right? And the screen we're on now in this moment is Roland Martin Unfiltered. And anybody interested? And he's showing us live right now. Black owned is important. That's all right. Get it for our message. So okay, so now we want you all, I know you all out here, but we have these young people who have been grinding today to figure out what they're hearing about what they're hearing on the ground. We're going to do, because it's quite a few minutes, we're going to have to do round robin on what I had shared was that we have young people here at Howard, young people here at CAU, and the ones that are here at CAU are most CAU, and we also have is Metropolitan Metropolitan in the house, so it's AUC and Atlanta and Clark Atlanta in the house, and they've been watching what's the message that's going on out there. So we're going to start with that. We have a group that have been watching 3 networks. They've been listening to CNN. They've been listening to MSNBC. They've been listening to Fox. So we want each of them to do, and I apologize for having to be quick, but we have state partners who are on the ground that also have to report. Just give us one top message, consistent message you've been hearing. And I'm gonna start off with CNN. And introduce yourselves and tell us who you are, and you can fill the seats as folks are moving to tell us who's the CNN team. Where's the CNN team? All right, introduce yourself, what school you're at, what you're studying, and tell us what you've heard.
Hello, I am Devin Dickinson, a recent graduate from the illustrious Clark Atlanta University, and I was on the CNN team today. And overall, a lot of the voting has been going smoothly, but in some of the states like Arizona, there's been a couple of issues. Reports say that 20% of voting locations are experiencing, quote, hiccups with voting tabulators. And there was a move from different Republican parties that wanted to go ahead and just do hand counts, but a judge in Pima County, Arizona went ahead and blocked the plan to fully hand count the votes after the distrust that a lot of voters had with the voting. And they're likely inaccurate. So it is good that there is an increased number of people, especially young people, that are voting, but that can bring a lot of different issues when it comes to technology, because like Miss Melanie said, you know, technology is great when it works for you. But yeah, it's good that a lot of people are getting out and voting, because a voteless people is a hopeless people.
Thank you. Next CNN, who else was listening to CNN? Is that Alexandria? Is she? Okay, no problem. All right, we'll move to MSNBC. Who was watching MSNBC?
Hi, yes, quickly, good evening, everyone. I am Darian Richards, a sophomore business marketing major from Clark Atlanta University. In my studies or in my research, I've found, as we talk about controlling the narrative, there's been a lack of conversation for the extensive amounts of voter intimidation going on across the board, as we've seen in specifically, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Texas, things of that nature, where polling places are being actively, I'll say, not harassed, but intimidated. There's been a wide network of miscommunication also through social media, as candidates or representatives of either party have been expelling false information about the waiting times for polling places. Relatively speaking, in Georgia and Nevada, there are low wait times as opposed to counties in Pennsylvania. Cobb County and Lorenz County have solved their issues of tabulatory issues, and it's a simple fix. A lot of things we're seeing, I could say, are simple issues, or excuse me, a simple issue and simple resolutions, but because there is the complacency for our demise, so to say, there has been a lack of urgency to fix these issues. Quickly, again, I don't want to ramble, I understand we are pressed on time. And continuing with controlling the narrative, recently there's been a Russian hack on voting websites and polling websites. And just yesterday, billionaire, I'm going to butcher this name, but Yevgeny Prigozhin said that Russia has, and we are this is the quote, "We have interfered and we are interfering. We will continue to interfere carefully, accurately, and surgically as we do in our own way, as we know how to do." So I just call that as we bring attention to the hand that every aspect in every organization will play in this election, as we have to protect our votes, as we protect our rights, not just at the polling stations, but going further than that through cybersecurity as well.
Thank you. Can we give a hand to CNN and MSNBC? And now we will hear from our students who were monitoring what's going on Fox News.
Hi, my name is Keenan Thompson. I'm a junior criminal justice major at the illustrious Clark Atlanta University. Earlier today, Florida did not allow poll monitors in their counties under the DeSantis administration after warning Biden that federal poll monitors are not permitted inside under Florida law. In response, Florida's governor's office will send out their own poll monitors. And in Detroit, Michigan, they have decided to move mail-in vote counters away from the window. They have decided to do this due to the 2020 elections where Trump supporters heckled counters by saying, "Stop the count." Thank you.
Okay, and so now we have students who've been monitoring in the states to give a report. Yes. Did you want?
Just use the phone? Okay. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me now? Yes. Perfect. Okay. My name is Deja Johnson. I am a senior political science major at the illustrious Clark Atlanta University. I found a very interesting story today in Georgia. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported that 2 Johns Creek poll workers were fired from working at the OC Library polling location about 15 minutes before polls opened this morning. Fulton County election officials said that the poll workers and her son were relieved from their duties due to questionable social media posts. We have since learned that those posts consisted of pictures of them participating in the January 6th insurrection. A since-deleted Facebook post appears to show the woman outside the U.S. Capitol during the January 6th insurrection with caption, "I stood up for what was right today in Washington, D.C. This election was a sham and Mike Pence is a traitor." Since this morning, we have seen that the polls have been super smooth and on election day across the state with super low wait times ranging from 3 to 10 minutes, which is wonderful to hear after Georgia's record-breaking early vote turnout of almost 2.5 million voters on top of a surge of young and Black voters on election day. So I'm going to pass it over to Dominique Campbell, and she's going to give you the report for Michigan.
Hi, I'm Dominique Campbell. I am a transfer from Clark Atlanta, but I go to Atlanta Metro. I'm a senior, and my major is business administration. I actually covered a story about Michigan, and what I learned was that the lawyers, the doctors, and the GOP officials laid out their strategies, and they said if there's a close election is going to be up to us to fix it. The Michigan Group has counterparts around the country. Since the 2020 election, activists have rallied behind Donald J. Trump claims about triggered and rigged elections and set out to find evidence to prove their theories and change the system. They have staked out ballot drop boxes and recruited thousands of volunteers to mentor voting in the midterm election and field legal challenges. With that, it's just really about, like, yes, there is a lot of voters, but there's a lot more intimidation these days. So we really have to stick together and just make sure we're getting out there as a group and making each other feel comfortable enough to vote. So vote.
Thank you, thank you. All right, thank you. Can we give everybody our students, our young students, an awesome hand? Thank you so very much. Q, we just heard something. Would you just report with something that happened in Houston really quick? And Elsie, I'm not sure if you had any students that wanted to report out, because I wasn't sure. And then we're gonna go. I know Deborah Scott needs to jump off, so we'll come to her first from Georgia, and then we'll roll right on through the state report outs. And I'm sorry, y'all, but we wanted to make sure you all heard from our young people who were here in the command center. Thought it was important for them to share what they're hearing and learning and their insight as to what's going on today. But something happened in Houston. So Q, would you give that report out real quick, and then we'll call on Deborah Scott.
Hey everyone, yes, in Houston, a fatal accident resulted in the closing of a polling station in Houston. Melrose Park Community Center in Houston has been closed after the death of a worker. Body was found in the basket near the center. So just wanted to flag that. Our amazing students here on the ground found that doing her research while we were on the phone. So we just want to give that real-time update. Also, election protection update from Abdul, who had to leave, that Donald Trump was demanding protests, I think Pennsylvania, what other states he said, Michigan, some key states. So they're looking at protests actually happening in real time today. So that's something else that election protection is tracking as well. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Q. Deborah Scott, Georgia, stand up. And if we have any other Georgia, we'll come through Georgia. And I think Helen Butler's on. Okay. And Mary Pat, Georgia Black You Vote.
Well, welcome to Georgia. We are here at the party at the polls at Metropolitan Library. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We're at Metropolitan Library, and what we've been doing is making sure that we have voter care. So we had 3 parties at the polls today, one in Fulton, DeKalb, and Clayton. And what we're hearing is there's been a lot of confusion about where people actually vote. But we've been able to help them because we're literally right across the street. We've been giving out chairs and water and free food. And so this is going to be the last party at the polls. We're going to stay here until the last voter votes at this precinct. We have about 3 or 4 food trucks out here. We have the NCBCP, Black Voters Matter, Black Youth Vote, and I see D9, all these organizations out here working together. So we just want to say thank you, Melanie, for your leadership, and thank you for just really hosting us and letting us know that we're not alone and we don't feel it. We feel joy today. So we don't know what the outcome is right now, but what we're seeing is that there is a lot of interest and young people are actually voting. So don't believe the hype, they're voting. Thank you so much. And you all should come out to Metropolitan Library.
Thank you, thank you. Helen Butler, Georgia, coach for the People's Agenda, and Mary Pat Crayola. Is Reverend White on still from Macon? So we're gonna hear from all of our Georgia. Let me know if APRI Georgia is on. So Helen, Mary Pat, and try to see if APRI Georgia is on. She said no. Okay, well, we got one more call at 8:32.
Okay, Mel. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
and
Helen and Mary Pat.
Okay, Mel. Thank you, and glad to be with you all. We've been doing a lot of rides to the polls. We're overwhelmed with the requests for rides to the poll, but thankfully we got great volunteers with the Masons and with other faith-based organizations to provide rides to the polls. We are monitoring 96 of the 159 counties with our election protection volunteers. There have not been too many major problems. As you know, there are 1,000 absentee ballots that not have been mailed in Cobb County. And of course, litigation was filed by the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ACLU to get that corrected. Today, the things that we've been seeing have been minor compared to most things that we've seen. I think Mayor Pat's going to tell you about the major activity that we had today, that she, along with the other Black youth vote, people were brought to our attention. But in Bon Air Middle School in Houston County, we had a situation where the school personnel was trying to tell voters they couldn't go vote, even though there's a polling location in the middle school, that they would have to come back after school is closed before they could vote. We've gotten that cleared. We had two Howard University students whose absentee ballots was stuck in the postal system. We got with Fulton County last night. This morning, they've been delivered, and those two students' votes at Howard University have been certified as received in Fulton County. We had one incident down in Elbert County where the scatters were jammed, and they've got those completed, and we did have to ask for an extension. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Pat, because they did found a situation and got it remedied.
Yes, absolutely. Well, one, I'll say, one of the gentlemen from CAU mentioned that there are low wait times in the state of Georgia. While there may be low wait times, we're still seeing suppression. One of the situations that we were sent out to, all of our Black youth vote students across the state of Georgia are doing election protection today. But on the ground, we're seeing, due to redistricting in Senate Bill 202, a lot of voter suppression at the polls. Today, there was a senior high-rise with about 400 senior citizens that live there. They've been voting at a polling location directly across the street from them, which is downtown, a little near the King Center area, if you're familiar with that area, like Sweet Auburn. And they've been voting at a precinct for years. They were told through redistricting that their polling location is now more than 20 minutes from where they live. Many of these elderly people in the senior facility were unable to walk. They had wheelchairs. Several of them mentioned that they were paralyzed and were unable to make it to Hateville out of the care of their caretakers. But thanks to the work of our extremely dedicated election protection volunteers that stayed with them for hours, reached out to our hotline, contacted Mrs. Helen, who immediately got on the phone with Fulton County. We were able to make sure that those senior citizens inside of that high rise were indeed able to vote at that polling location. It took some time, but we refused to allow them to suppress their vote. And while that happened in Fulton County, we understand that due to Senate Bill 202 and redistricting, things like this are happening all across the state of Georgia.
And I just want to say the only other issue we've had come up recently is that a lot of people are showing up at advanced voting locations that are no longer available and thinking that's the place they need to vote. East Point, and then where Deborah is at Metropolitan, and of course in DeKalb County at the mall. So we have people directing them to that correct polling location. In fact, two of our drivers had to take people to their actual polling location so that they could be able to vote because they wouldn't be able to get there if they hadn't received the assistance of our rides. So that's what's happening on the ground. as of right now.
Thank you so much, Helen. Somebody cut that so I could get the echo out. We're gonna hear from Pennsylvania.
Hello. Is that Pittsburgh?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I didn't do it myself. Hi, I'm here. Sorry about that. I got muted. It's all good. Clay, is Richard Womack Jr. still here from Pennsylvania? We're gonna go to Pennsylvania and we're gonna come back to, got a note and definitely was, did not realize National Black Justice Coalition has interns who have a report. So we'll do Pennsylvania and then we'll come to you, young ladies. So just hold on there, okay? So Richard Womack Jr. from Philadelphia, are you still there?
You must have made it.
I don't see him listed, but we've got
Okay, Clay,
Lena.
I can't hear you.
Okay, I don't know. Oh, sorry.
He was there.
Yeah, he was here.
Okay, if he can get back on, let's see if he could join back, we'll pull him back up. I know we have Reverend Dr. Judith Moore in Pittsburgh. So if he could join back, we'll pull him on to tell us, I don't know if anybody else is here in Pennsylvania, if Tiffany is on. If he could jump back on, we'll put him back on to tell us what's going on.
Okay, Lee Redmond is on.
Pittsburgh, Mon Valley.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for the opportunity. As I reported earlier, we had a fight to break out in one of our voting locations, which was a predominantly white community. We had 4,400 mail-in ballots that were incorrect or incomplete, and many of them were in the Black community. So they've been scrambling, trying to make that correction with them. There's been floods and floods and floods of misinformation that's being poured out in Pittsburgh. One of the polling location was inefficient, had inefficient access for handicap ramps. And so some of those persons had to be personally assisted so that they could get inside the doors to even go and to cast their votes. What I am hearing is that there are more young people, I'm excited, who are turning out to vote. So that's exciting, and that's kind of new, especially for this type of voting situation. And one of the other situations we had, at one of our poll monitors, who happens to be gay, was approached by someone, and they stated some very unkind remarks to him, to the place where he felt uncomfortable, and also made a statement about the only Black woman who's running for Congress, made a statement about her sexual preference. But I understand that a committee chair approached her and shut it down. Not sure, the after effects of what that looks like, but that's what's happening. And the last thing, I've been voting at the same place, poll location, voting poll, for the last 40 years. And this year, this particular poll worker tried to question me assisting my physically challenged husband. So we know that didn't go anywhere. And then one of the workers who knew us for many years stepped in and said she always helps him. So that's the latest and the greatest. The lines are not overwhelmingly long, but they are consistently moving and people are continually showing up. That concludes my report, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you, Reverend Judy. Is Richard Womack Jr. back? Clay, you on mute.
Again, is that better? Can you hear me now? Lena Redmond is on still, but Richard had to jump off.
Okay, so have her to report, is that okay?
Yes, that's fine. She's from Philadelphia.
Yes, hello, everybody. We are out and about, and we had people out on the polls. We had some problems earlier with the judges. A lot of the judges wasn't showing up on time. Some of the sites had been moved, but now we pulled some people to do phone banking to make sure that the people get out there and to know where their polling places are. So they said now between now and 8 o'clock that the people had located. So we had people driving them to the polls because a lot of people went to some of the polling places and they told them they had to vote 3-4 miles away. So we had people now that taking them to their polling places, but they wasn't notified of the polling changes. And a lot of people did early voting. But like I say, it's just a problem with having proper judges. Some of the polling places didn't have enough judges, so they opened late and was telling people to come back. And people say, we have to go to work, we can't come back. So hopefully that will be justified between now and 8 o'clock. And also too, let me give the Maryland report also from Maryland. We did the, under the direction of our President Cleola Brown, she had me to work with the ministers, and we had a record-breaking souls to the polls on October the 30th for our early voting in Maryland. And also too, 2 weeks ago, we were short 1,000 judges, which is unacceptable in any state. 2 weeks before the general election, we are still short 1,000 judges. So those are things that we're going to have to deal with for the near future, particularly for the 2024 when our election comes up again in Maryland. But other than that, as far as the judges, not having enough judges, and the poll places being changed without proper notification from the election boards. So we're working on that. We pulled people off of the polls to do phone banking and seeing if people needed rides to the polls. So that's what we are doing now. We are phone banking, we are taking people to the polls, and we're out there making sure that people are being treated fairly on the polls. So thank you so much, President Brown, the A. Philip Randolph, and the ministers, where you, the connection that you have with the ministers and A. Philip Randolph in Maryland and Pennsylvania. We thank you for your leadership. And thank you also, Melody. I love you. And you know I love my sister girlfriend, Cleola Brown, my president and international vice president. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you, Ms. Lena Redmond. And now we're going to hear from our, you're going to have to introduce yourselves, ladies. Get that echo out. Can you get the echo out? Thank you. From National Black Justice Coalition interns who were at the Howard University Command Center. Turn it over to you, ladies. Introduce your, make sure we know your names. We appreciate it and so glad. And let's hear from you. And then we'll go to, I'm just trying to, I'm just going from where I see what, okay, I got somebody in my ear here and on here. So let me focus. Hear from my sisters from the National Black Justice Coalition, then we'll keep getting our state reports. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear us? I'm Shayla, and this is Jazz Marie. We're the interns at the National Black Justice Coalition, and we're really optimistic. We want to report that the midterm elections are seeing record-breaking.
Ladies, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm Shayla, and this is Jazz Marie. We're the interns at the National Black Justice Coalition. We are optimistic to report that the midterm elections are seeing record-breaking numbers excuse me, of Black LGBTQ+ and same gender-loving candidates on the ballot today. We have counted that, where is my voice? We have counted that there are at least 57 Black LGBTQ+ and same gender-loving individuals running for office. We would just like to highlight a few that would be making history if they are elected. So Venton Jones is running for the Texas House of Representatives for District 100. If elected, Jones will be the first person openly living with HIV serving in a state legislature. Jones would also be one of the first out LGBTQ+ and same gender-loving Black members of the Texas legislature.
3 other members who would like to highlight are Jason Hopkins is running for Michigan House of Representatives. If elected, he will be the first LGBTQ+ member of color in the state. Christian Manuel Hayes is running for the Texas House of Representatives, District 22. If elected, he will be joining Benton Jones in becoming one of the first Black LGBTQ members in this position. And lastly, we have Eric Russell running for Connecticut treasurer. If elected, he will be the first Black LGBTQ plus statewide elected official in the US. We're really excited to see the outcomes for this midterm elections.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for your leadership and giving us that awesome report from National Black Justice Coalition. I see at the top of my screen, that's how I'm going to do it now, because it's quite a few of y'all on here. I see Brother Melvin Montfort from North Carolina, and we'll go from North Carolina, and then we'll go, I think I see Michigan, and I'm just going to call it so that I won't have to keep going back and forth. We'll do, when I come to 2 states, we'll do North Carolina, anybody on from North Carolina, and then we'll go to Michigan, and I think I saw Alabama. So North Carolina, Michigan, what did I say? Alabama, sorry y'all. Been a long day for all of us. And then I know we have more states. I think we'll be almost there. Y'all just hold on as long as you can. We know some of y'all gonna have to jump off and do what you need to do. So we wanna hear, and this is still live on Roland Martin Unfiltered, so your report will be heard. Okay.
Oh, am I up? Am I up? Yeah, I'll be brief. We haven't heard of anything major yet happening at the polls. You know, there's going to be some things where people have to go to judges and that kind of thing, but nothing what we call considered major, like anybody getting hurt, anything like that. The turnout is what we wanted. We wanted the turnout this year to be higher than in 2018, and that's happening. Our program this year calls for us doing actually more work on the ground than we did in 2020. And that's also happening. So we're really excited about North Carolina. And the lines at the polls now all over the state are having record turnouts and record lengths. So I will give a shout out to our young folks, because we have 4 crews of nothing but people between the ages of 18 and 35. And those are the only groups that are working out that, and those numbers are looking good. But other than that, we're excited about what may happen here when the things tallied. Looking forward to it. We got several parties planned afterwards. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Mumford. I call the states. Just jump in.
Yep, Tamika Ramsey, Black Women's Roundtable, Metro Detroit, and I'm also calling and talking about Western Michigan as well.
Tiffany, we can't hear. Tamika, we can't hear you.
Okay, is this better? Okay, so Stephanie Moore Williams has been going to Western. So they have had a very long line at a lot of the college campuses because students are attempting to register and vote at the same time. So we are working to make sure that they are moving the line so that students can get through and be able to vote. Macomb County, once again, one of the most segregated and conservative counties in Michigan, has had a lot of issues with voter intimidation. We have had a lot of Trump parades happening right by the polling locations, trying to intimidate and scare people to not vote. The polling equipment in Detroit has been off and on. We are working very closely with the Secretary of State to make sure that all of those votes are tabulated when the machines go down. They are being entered in after the machines come back up again. Once again, there is a lot of intimidation happening with poll challengers in cities such as Pontiac and in Flint, which also has a very low turnout. These challengers are not only harassing the voters, they are also harassing the poll workers as well. And we have people coming out, getting credentials, names, and numbers so that we can hold them accountable and get the Secretary of State in when possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Alabama, and then we'll come to Florida and Louisiana. And if I missed the states, we'll open it up in case I missed somebody. Okay. I thought I saw Sheila Tyson. Okay, there you go, Sheila. We need you, you're on mute, Sheila.
Hey y'all, I'm sorry. I was here with Congresswoman Sewell. She's at the poll with me, y'all.
No. Oh no, not today. We can't do. We love you, but you
vote
know,
down.
C3,
So we're.
C3,
I know
C3.
we
So
we're out now. We have had a lot of problems in Alabama. We had a fake ballot out. They went into the underserved, uneducated community and they passed them out. But we was able to stop it because we started very early. With that, we have had mass numbers in polls that have not produced in the early election in the primary, but these we have had like triple the turnout in Jefferson County. Right now, we are with Alabama election protection in 40 counties. We have a team of about 60 attorneys across the state actually working. We have had some disturbance in several of the polls because majority of our seats in Alabama have been challenged. So we have had the police out at majority of the polls, just trying to stop all the confusion that is going on. And that's our majority of the mixed boxes, Melanie, that we've been having a lot of the problems with the Black and the white people that we have had, but we have had numbers that is just really unbelievable. If you can see behind me, numbers where we're standing in line, it's 441 here, and these lines look like they're gonna be going on all day long. So right now, we're out just making sure that we give the people attention, and we got them at all of the major boxes across the state. And I wanna thank Melanie Campbell with Black Women's Roundtable for investing in a state that really people really don't look for us to do anything. But I can guarantee you these counties is turning out. They are interested in this election and they're gonna show up by 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Sheila. Florida and Louisiana, and if I missed the state, we'll open it up because I know we earlier we had folks on from Maryland, I think, and we wanted to hear from Maryland, Missouri, and Colorado. Clay, okay.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for your leadership and everyone that's on the ground doing the great work they're doing. It was good to hear. I just want to do a big shout out to our youth because they really showing up. A lot of first time voters. I got our youth out on the ground. They actually doing election protection and monitoring, and they actually pulling out other young people. As you know, in Florida, we did our campaign was around relationship organized. And so I see it became very impactful and it's showing up today. Our folks actually touching and making sure that they are educating, organizing their people that they know personally. So it's working out here in Florida. We haven't heard too many bad incidents. Everything so far been reported that's been reported earlier today has been taken care of, and folks is they're really doing some good work around making sure folks get out and making sure people get to the right polling spot. We are using our Lyft codes. Thanks to Lyft, we are able to get people to the polls if they show up at the wrong polling site. We want to do a big shout out to our Pastor Harris in Jacksonville, all the churches up in Jacksonville. He's leading that piece of making sure that people get rides to the polls in Jacksonville. And also, you know, we got this storm here, so it's a storm, and her name is Nicole. So we're hoping that the storm, Nicole, just do the right thing, because as we said on the call the other night, the woman is the storm. So, and to bring great things. So they're not stopping. So that's our report for right now. Everything looks good so far. And thank you for your leadership, and thank everyone for their work that they're doing around the country.
Thank you. Louisiana. Thanks, Solange. Louisiana.
All righty. Hello, all. Vincent Silva and Louisiana Unity Coalition. Let me first say that I was kind of concerned that based on early vote, the black-white differential, we were down 8 to about 10%. It looks like with a steady and brisk turnout during election day, that we're going to probably wind up equalizing that vote. The other thing that happened earlier today, as I've updated you all twice on the bomb alert or the bomb threat that happened in Kenner, Louisiana, there seems to have been an attempt by governmental officials, statewide as well as local, to try to downplay that as in terms of what it was not. But it'd be mighty ironic that here you got a diverse school where a bomb threat happened on the day that school was closed, and they said it wasn't related to the election. That's about it.
Thank you, Vince. So if one to open and make sure if we have missed the stage.
Hi, you've got Missouri and Colorado on the line too.
Yeah, I was Colorado, Maryland, Florida, Missouri, Clay.
You've got Missouri, Colorado, and Nicole Fuller from Philadelphia Posh really needs
Okay.
to be first.
Anybody on? Just go. So we want to start with Colorado, and then Missouri. Okay, Colorado. Introduce yourself.
Hello. And hello to my fearless leader, Leola Brown. You look good. I'm so excited.
Miss Tanya, would you speak a little bit louder?
I'm sorry. I am Tanya Acker from the Denver, Colorado chapter. Hello to my fearless leader, Cleola Brown. You're looking good. So happy to see you. And a shout out to my alma mater. Denver is
Tanya, you're going in and out on my end.
Without any incidents.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you.
Now,
Can
now you say alma mater, CAU or Howard?
CAU. Clark, Atlanta.
Okay, Elsie. Okay.
Clark, Atlanta.
So go ahead. Because it was chopping up a little bit. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Clark, Atlanta is my alma mater. The polls here are, like I was saying, Denver, Colorado is one of the few states with mail-in voting and has for years. We made, as soon as ballots were dropped, we hit the streets to encourage early voting. But there is a steady stream of people. I'm at one of the polls now. I'm checking all the polls, all my people at the polls now. And no incidents to my knowledge, and a steady stream on a beautiful day to vote.
Thank you.
Hello?
Missouri. APRI.
Good afternoon, and how you doing, Melanie? Thank you for doing this. I'd like to shout out to my national president, Ms. Cleola Brown, for supporting us here in St. Louis. We are here in Missouri. We had a law passed in August where we could do early absentee voting in person. And we've been giving rides to the polls. The turnout for the early voting has been really going good. Today, we've been providing rides to folks in the underserved communities here in St. Louis and metropolitan area. We have not had any incidents. We've been having a steady flow of voters calling and taking them to the polls. So no incidents. We've had some rumors about some intimidation, but nothing has affected any of our drivers.
Thank you, Keith. Anyone from Maryland or any other state we missed?
So this is Nicole Fuller. I'm with Philadelphia, the APRI chapter there. Hello, President Brown. Glad to be on today. I'm gonna just be very brief. I have to agree with some of the folks that have spoken already. It seems to be a steady flow in Philadelphia as far as folks at the polls. I do know there was a high percentage of folks that did mail-in ballots, but they've reinstituted a security measure because they want to make sure folks aren't voting twice, such as sending a mail-in ballot and then coming to the polls in person. So that might take us a little bit of time because of counting the votes gonna be a little bit slow because they've reinstated that security measure. But as to my knowledge, there hasn't been any problems or issues.
Okay.
But you know, there's a lot of folks in Philadelphia, so I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed and say a prayer that it stays that way for the remainder of the evening. But that's pretty much it. A lot of phone banking. I've been working with the ASME District Council 33. I left there because they were finishing up their phone banking as well. So folks here have been really active, knocking on doors, passing out literature every day for the last month or so. So we're doing okay so far. I'm still holding my breath for this governor's race, but yeah.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Nicole. Thank you. Any other state left? All right, Clay, we good?
The only person that I know that did not say, Jerry King just got on from Michigan. So
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
now we can.
Hello? I don't have any, I can't hear anybody.
Hey, Jerry, we hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Greetings to all of you all that are working hard to get out the vote. Greetings to my national president, Cleota Brown, and her staff. I'm Jerry King, the Michigan State president, and also the Metro Detroit president.
Yeah, you went on mute, Jerry. You went on mute some kind of way.
You hear me?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Thing that I've gotten, and please excuse my phone. One negative thing that's going on is all my phone banking calls are going out, but the number is leaving is my personal number. The beautiful thing is I know my phones are turning because I'm getting calls back. It's interrupted while I'm on this call. The one consistent thing is that the new voters are coming out and voting. People that have never voted, you know, young voters, they're coming out. There's a consistent stream of traffic at all of the voting locations that I've been to today. I haven't seen any big problems that people were not able to work out, but I have heard there later on this evening, but right now we're doing voter protection across the state, and hope you guys didn't break off again, but we're looking forward to being able to showcase the numbers and the activities to get out the vote here in Michigan. But so far, things are being good. They haven't reported any major to date right now from where I've been able to capture.
Thank you, Jerry. And what I heard, because it was chopping in and out, so I heard you said that the turnout is going really well.
Yes, I mean,
a whole lot of issues.
Well, on the news, they say that there's
but folks are showing up and showing out.
People are showing up, but they're saying
drumbeat is going today.
Right, they're saying a million
thank
people
you.
haven't showed up.
We appreciate everybody. We know you got to get back out there and close out the last few hours of polling places being open. So we will have one last call for those who can make it at 8:30. For the last media call at 8:30 for those who can join us. And in some cases, the polling places will be closed. In some cases, as we all know, polling places will still be open. So thank you, Cleola. Thank you, Doc. I think Dr. Elsie and all of our leaders and our student leaders who are on both in DC and Atlanta, and everybody. Just get across the finish line. We'll see what we have left when we get on the other side. See y'all at 8:30, those who can make it.